Live. This hangout
Yeah,
is
no.
on air. Fantastic. So for anybody watching or tweeting or just me and Pete or whoever else, this is the first hangout for MUS 654, which is all about creating a curriculum. It's an open music course, and if you were to look at the pages, which I self-host on my own website, so it's not really fancy, but you can find it. So it's lauraritchie.com, and then at the top of the website are the pages for MUS 654, and the 2015 has all the different weeks. And oh, there's my own hangout. I better shut it. Shut that and that. There we go. Sorry, there's a bit of delay there. But so that's where the pages are located if you wanted to join in. And every week there is content and activities, and anyone who is a musician or a performer or somebody interested in music or just somebody who wants to learn about different things, feel free to join in. There's nothing that you have to have a certain level of knowledge already to do. So that's a little brief introduction to the course. And as the weeks go on, you'll see we talk about basically different satellite topics about unpicking, unpacking music, musical learning, how you think about music, how you do music, the different components. And then as we get towards the end, we put them back together and think about how we can relate that to pedagogy, to teaching, and for your own practice. So it can even be useful if you're thinking about how you yourself can prepare a program in a year's time. So you don't need to be a teacher teaching other people, although it'd be very useful. You can be a teacher teaching yourself. Sorry about the ding. So we've got somebody else in there. So Pete, could you introduce yourself and just say who you are?
Hey, so I'm Pete, music student at the uni. I do the IVT, which is how I met Laura. I play guitar, tiny bit of piano, but not really. I'm mainly a guitarist, and I'm into all things sort of learning and teaching. Should I introduce the other one? Okay.
There's somebody else there.
There's one other person, but not yet.
Okay, that's all right. We've got a former student at maybe joining Pete in a bit. Just for anybody who's watching who doesn't know what or where we are at the university. The online course has physical students who are, well, Pete's one of them, and we meet weekly, and those students are registered for a module at the University of Chichester, and that's in England. And IVT is instrumental or vocal teaching, and I wrote a degree in that. So back to MUS 654. This week we were talking about the mechanics of sound. So at the very basic level, thinking about what is sound and how do we do it. And I threw out there a couple of different tasks, which hopefully are not too strenuous, but slightly fun and hopefully get people thinking. And one of them was about listening and seeing things. And so we were listening to a radio broadcast of a program that was it was based on a book. So then later there was the book itself. And I don't know if everybody or anybody actually read the whole of the book chapter yet, but I don't know how reliant do you think you are in everyday activities on your eyes, Pete?
Incredibly. Very, very reliant on my eyes, definitely.
Do you learn music from notation, though?
No, not at all.
So that's so interesting, because
I couldn't tell you the last time I learned from. Actually, the last time I learned from notation was when, in second year we had to do the violin thing.
Yeah.
When I had to learn a violin, I can sight read on the violin better than I can on the guitar, but I don't learn from notation other than that. In terms of notation, though, I do learn from tab occasionally, but not really.
Well, that counts as notation. I mean, different forms of notation.
Very rarely. Like, I don't really use tab. I'll learn by watching somebody play something or listening to someone play something.
But that's interesting because so music is sound, and sound is obviously a listening thing or a feeling thing. There are musicians who can't hear but feel the sound, but we still are reliant on our eyes. So I wonder, it's a one activity I do sometimes. I practice in the dark, just turn off
Yeah,
all the lights.
yeah. I used to like blindfold myself and play guitar. That was fun.
Well, it makes you hear things differently.
And it makes you really, really feel the instrument as well and know like where everything is, but just by feeling, as opposed to being like, oh, third fret, fifth fret, whatever. Like you actually feel where the third fret or fifth fret might be.
Yeah, that's true. And especially with instruments that are physical and you move to play them, whether that's, you know, some instruments you move less than others. If you play the French horn and you move a lot, you're going to mess things up. But if you're on the piano or a string instrument, there's a lot of motion, or some percussion instruments, huge range of motion, and to know the refined motions, your motor skills.
I think it's even more important for something like the cello, or any of the classical kind of string instruments, where you don't necessarily have like markers of where you need to be for each kind of respective note. It's really important, obviously, that you not only you hear like the sound, but that you feel where it needs to be, like actually on the fretboard, because that's really important. I think anyway. That's my interpretation of it for the intonation.
Yeah. What about the? I had a listening task, and I asked people to make a soundscape. And I know different people have done different things. Some of them from the people in the class we're going to actually hear tomorrow. I put a couple of them online, and wondered how that was. So I wonder if I can get them up and listen to them. This is actually my first Hangout that I've ever run, so I'm a little nervous about that. But I'm not a very fantastic technologically gifted person. I'm going to take off my headphones and see if I can play this. And here we go. Okay, so that was my first soundscape, and you've got a former student there, Jess, who's graduated, and I don't know if I think she's heard that before. So it'd be interesting to hear.
On your Facebook.
Oh, you did hear it. Oh, I tried to post it everywhere. So what did you think it was?
I thought you were like making a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And like, I heard some like shouting and stuff. I didn't really know what was going on. But I didn't really know what the project was about. I just read the blog briefly.
That's all right. So what else? And Pete, you noticed a few things because you kindly put a comment.
Yeah.
Did you hear any more detail?
There was more detail when you're listening to the actual thing as opposed to listening through like we did just now.
Yes.
Some of the more sort of intricate background noises were a bit lost. But yeah, I didn't hear anything more now, but I still kind of want to know if I'm right with what I said in the comment. I don't know. I don't think I will be, but I might be.
Okay, so I'm going to give it a go and see if I can make it work, if I can share my screen and then minimize you. And can you see a photo?
It's just black at the minute.
Is it? We'll see if it works. I'm hoping.
I'll let you know if it changes.
Is it still black?
Yeah.
Oh, now there's a million Pete's.
Oh dear. Oh, one is
Oops, ding.
Laura.
Any luck?
It says Laura Ritchie is presenting to everyone, but
Oh, that's kind. But there's nothing.
Yeah, it's still black.
Oh, let's see if I can do stop.
Oh yeah, yep. You're good now.
Oh, did it work? Oh no. Okay, I'll try again. The entire
Laura
screen.
Ritchie is no longer presenting.
No, sorry. I'm new at this. You see. Do I want to present to everyone?
Yeah.
I guess so. If it worked before, we'll try it. So there's a picture.
You're going to want to minimize because
I did. I think there's probably just a delay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be patient and see if it goes. So this is the outside, and I was actually standing sort of where that double yellow line is because it was a public place. I didn't want to record I didn't want to eavesdrop on anybody, and I did ask permission. Was I allowed to record the sounds? So I stood outside holding my phone, and people passing by sort of looked at me like, "Why are you not going in?" and then if I, they're in the wrong order. You see, I have to think, so I don't want to give it away. There's the other picture. That's the inside. So there were indeed cups of tea being made. Jess, you were right.
Oh.
And that was very good. And the clattering, and you can see a couple of people sort of in the background. I tried to make all the people be out of focus, and there were families and children and lots of different things going on. But it was you could hear, I think, the clatter. If you think about it, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. The floor is a hard floor. The walls are all bare. There are no curtains. There's no carpet, and so everything is very echoey and noisy. And I think so. There are a couple of different levels to this kind of task. I mean, yeah, it's fun to say like, "Guess what I'm doing?" And last year I'd posted one where I was I got out an apple and I rinsed the apple so you could hear this water, and it was really obvious it was water. And I got out a plate and it was like crash, bang, boom, and I chopped the apple and it went sort of. Then I ate it, and you could really hear that. But the different things are quite fun. So shall I play the second one and see if it works?
Yeah.
Okay, the second one takes a bit of explaining because it's longer. So the first one was pretty much like, I could have just showed that picture, right? The one in front, and it would have been that. The second one, let's see if I can make this go. That's the first one. Here's the second one, sorry.
It sounded really familiar, but I can't get behind it.
Awesome. Yeah. Dark, isn't it?
Well, I guess.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that, you don't want to hear some cello. That one is
the park.
Is what?
Is it a park?
It's not a park. It's but it is more than one thing. It's more than one thing because I think you can hear that you can hear that it goes distinctly between different things. So what do you think?
It sounded like there was swings there, like a play area, but obviously it wasn't.
No, it's a funny thing, and it's a thing that if you know what it is, then you go, oh, it's a very distinctive sound. If you don't know what it is, it's quite hard to place, and that's really interesting.
I knew what the sound was. Like, I definitely recognized it, but I just couldn't put my finger on it, and it annoyed me for so long. I was just like, oh, because I felt like I should know it. But I thought it was like you walking in a field or something by a river, and there was like a tractor or a boat or something. I don't know.
Well, that's quite good. So I was near water, and let's see if I can do this. So Jess was right that there were children playing, but it wasn't a proper playground. I'm going to find the right pictures in the right order before I screen share this. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Screen share, entire screen share. So there may be delay. I'm screen sharing. Let me know when that turns up.
The screen shares come on, but the picture's still you at the minute.
Oh no. Okay, I'll see if presenting makes a difference. Ding.
It says presenting to everyone, but I still got it's just bigger.
It's frozen. Just give it a second, like.
Yeah.
Okay, so when the picture arrives, this was the sound at the beginning. Is it there?
No.
No.
Oh, I'll try again.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, good. Okay.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
So look there, the orange thing is indeed a boat, and it's on a trailer, and it is a tractor. And I listened back to it, and I thought, actually, if you've never heard a tractor, you might think it was, I don't know, somebody working in a street or some, quite a bashy, crashy do-do-do-do-do sound. But
well,
it's that.
It's all fields, so we hear them all the time.
Yeah, we live in a place with fields. So that was the beginning. And I just happened. I actually went for one particular sound, and I didn't expect to have a changing scene of different sounds. So I started off, and then this tractor goes by towing a boat, and I thought, fantastic. And you actually hear, I've cut the man driving the tractor out of the picture just because it's easier. I didn't have the time to say, hey, can I post your picture? But you hear me on the recording go, hey, as he sort of waved at me. And then I walked, and the next one is this, which is the strange metallic sound that I think you probably thought was a playground noise. And it was the wind. I left the wind as a clue, because the wind actually, I didn't have a pop shield. I was only using my telephone to record. And so you could hear the sort of, overblowing into the microphone of the wind. And then the flap, 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 flap sound that's kind of metallic-y wire is the wires of the boats, the mast wires that are not, obviously the boats don't stay rigged when they're not in use. You can see it's a gray, cloudy day, and it was super windy. But it was a horrible racket of, not horrible as in bad, but it was just really noisy. So I walked past those boats, and then looking out to the water, if you play it from the link, and at the bottom of each of these pictures, I've put the link to where the actual, the audio files are. You can hear, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse moving around? There are these birds, and there are lots of seagulls that they were calling, and then this boat went by. And I thought, wow, that's really good. And you can see the tide was going down. But so then I kept walking, and I did ask permission if I could use this picture with this little chap's face. They were catching little teeny weeny fish things. And I think in the audio, if you listen really closely, you can hear him, or there were a couple of kids. One of them says, I think he must like pepperoni, because on the end of a little fishing thing, they had various bits of food they were dangling down and seeing which ones worked better.
I knew I could hear like a kid's voice or something on it.
Yeah, it was quite fun. So that, I'm going to push stop. There you go. There's us again. But so I thought as an experiment, it was quite fun. But it's nice to know when you don't know what something is, you think it might be something else. And I've had that with food, and then people tell me, oh, do you know it was this? And I go, oh, no, not tomatoes, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that second one for a long time to try and figure out. I was like, sounds like a tractor. Was it a tractor? And then I was just like, I had it in my head that it was, and then I was just like, maybe I'm second guessing myself. But yeah, it was surprisingly like a good laugh.
Yeah, but it's another one of those things, really, to tune your ears in and see what can you do and how do you find clues and
Yeah.
put them together. So across the I'm looking at my clock, and we've got 10 minutes left to talk about things. And across the course, the different weeks, the idea is there'll be lots of different things, tasks to do that people can do, and some of them will teach all of us things. It'll be like games, and other things will maybe be useful for those who are teaching other people. They can use in their sort of portfolio of different skills, and have little things at the ready they might try out on some students. So if you were going to do something with a teaching thing, you could do a sort of guess the sound, and you have to play sound, and I don't know, can you sound like a something? But it's interesting. One thing worth mentioning with many online, any learning experience thing, is one of the great things is connecting with people. And I sort of threw everybody in the deep end and said, just go for it. And sometimes courses have a week where it's like boot camp. There's a really famous course called DS 106, and it's digital storytelling. And so they do all these fantastic creative things, but they have their first week, or a pre-week, is like getting ready and learning how to use different blogging sites and sorting out technology things. And so I'm hoping more people will catch up with that as they discover it's not that hard, and I'm here to help if they need help, and I can. But I was going to ask you a question beforehand, and I commented on it. Oh, the usefulness in connecting. The usefulness in connecting, because in music, even if you do different sorts of music, I mean, certainly in classical music, it's done very, a lot of the learning is done in isolation. And and reaching out and connecting to other people is really useful. And I mean, even there are differences in different sorts of lessons that, if you're having private lessons or group lessons, or playing in a group, in a band or an orchestra, it's very different. I don't know, have you noticed that?
Well, I'm not necessarily a classical musician, so I don't think I would have noticed that in particular. But what I do notice is that the difference between group learning and private learning, because I had private lessons in both piano and guitar, and then I had group lessons with you, actually, with the violin, and it's just such a different dynamic. It's mad. So I noticed stuff like that, and I noticed how different it is doing a solo performance as opposed to doing a performance in like a band, or even just like a duo or like a trio, something like that. The different dynamics between the people in the band, or the different dynamic between the band and audience, or the solo performer and the audience. It's mad how, when you introduce even just one more person into the mix, how much everything can change depending on who is in the mix, if you get what I mean. So that's something I noticed, but I didn't necessarily notice anything about classical musicians.
Oh, no, but I just meant that, the private, and that makes it even more interesting, because people sometimes assume, especially if they're not musicians, that anyone who does popular music learns in a very public way, and the classical musicians learn in a very private way. But you just said you had private lessons, and you're not a classical musician. So
yeah. Well, the thing was, like, all of my kind of tuition as the musician that I am has pretty much been private. Even when I didn't have tuition and I taught myself guitar, I taught myself off YouTube. And that was still private. I used to just sit in front of the computer out the back of my old house, while my mum was making the dinner.
Yeah, the same as me.
Yeah.
It's all private.
So even when it's not private lessons as such, you're still doing it in private, because it was still in the privacy of my own home in front of a computer. So everything I ever learned on guitar has pretty much been private. other than the skills that you learn when you're playing in a band. So the skills like keeping in time with each other, or learning to bounce off of each other, or, you know, learning to go with, I don't know, if someone messes up, try not to drop them in it. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to catch someone if something goes wrong. All of those kinds of skills, they've been skills that I've learned within groups. And I don't think you can't really learn that, because those skills are something that you have to learn with other people. You can't learn that. I don't think that you can learn that from like a YouTube video. That's kind of more experience-based skills. And so like the more you play with other people, the more you kind of learn those sorts of ones. But in terms of sort of technical skills, like, oh, this is how to, even just this is how to properly fret, or this is sweep picking, or this is, you know, chords, or whatever it is, that's all the kind of stuff that I would say that you've learned privately. Well, sorry, I've learned privately.
Yeah, it's funny that that's a tradition, but it's not to say, if you were to ask a load of different subject teachers if they thought that all their students should learn privately in isolation, certainly now with the internet and the information and the way we can connect and draw upon other people, they'd say, of course not. You know, why would you not take advantage of the experience and knowledge and ideas from other people? So it's,
I think, to be honest with you, though, it's an interesting one, as you were saying, with me being like not a classical musician, because what, like, I've been saying that I learned privately, but a lot of the time, the jam sessions that we have, like as say like rock musicians or even folk musicians, when you're just kind of improvising around, say if you've got like your guitar tuned to like open D or something, or open G or whatever, improvising around that, you might have like a violin and a cello, or you might have, I don't know, a banjo or something, or even just like a cajon, something like that. Improvising around all that kind of stuff is interesting as well, because you do learn a lot of like rhythm and timekeeping skills and all of that. So thinking about it, I probably learned as much being in bands as being out of bands.
absolutely. And that improvising stuff is going to come in useful in a couple of weeks when we're going to talk about that. But what the point I want to leave people with in, you know, our last 3 minutes is that although traditionally people have private lessons to improve their technique, we can learn an awful lot from talking about the processes. And so that's like the point of doing the little tasks, and especially learning across instruments. So from you as a guitar player, I'm going to learn different things, and they're going to be things that you would learn in lessons with other guitar teachers, or you might play in a band that as a classically trained cellist I wouldn't have thought of doing. And over the years, certainly there have been things that I've changed a lot in my practice, because I think, wow, that's such a great idea. Why don't I do that? And it's, you know, it's what you do with any other discipline, but it's also tradition is a really strong thing. And I think it's a new departure to think that way for musicians, because often we don't present things until they're really done. You know, you think like, oh, I better practice more. I need to practice a lot. And of course, yes, we do need to practice a lot, and concerts and, you know, final presentations should be great, but also there's no reason why you should have to learn alone. I think we can learn from each other.
I think there's a lot of things that you literally can't learn alone.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's one of the beauties of music, is it brings people together, and like you were saying, the connectivity of it. So
yeah. So on that note, the topic for next week is what makes a melody. And what makes melody. So I want to think about what actually is a tune. And there's plenty of stuff. You can look at the page tomorrow, and we'll do another one of these. And Pete may or may not be with us. It may be somebody else. I'm hoping to connect up with one of our guests from next week, who is Dwayne, and he's a jazz violinist in Hawaii. So he's already recorded something for us. But I don't know if we can do a live link up. He may be, you know, the time difference is quite a lot. He may be traveling, he may be away, but you know, hopefully. So for anyone who's watched, thank you very much. Join in, MUS 654, and it's on my webpage, and feel free to dip into 1 week or not, or a few activities. Connect with us. If you have any questions for me or Pete, both of our Twitter things are there. And see you next week. Yeah?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.